A new book based on an encyclical by Pope Francis says the Church's social teaching is deeply rooted in God's love for humanity. The book is called Fraternity, Sign of the Times, written by Cardinal Czerny and Father Christian Barone. It is based on the Holy Father's Fratelli Tutti. Pope Francis wrote the preface for the new book. And joining us now is one of the authors of that book, Cardinal Czerny, Under Secretary of the Migrants and Refugees Section of the Holy See's Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development. Your Eminence, thank you so much for your time today. We're grateful. Can you tell us how the idea of the book came about, and also what was it like working with Pope Francis? I understand he wrote the preface for the book.
Yeah, well, that's your second question is very easy to answer. He knew about the book as it was being conceived and planned, and he encouraged us to write it. So he knew all along, and so when it came time to write the preface, he did so with real knowledge of what we were attempting, and I think he beautifully encourages people to understand and to read and to appreciate what both the history and the contemporary impact of Fratelli Tutti.
Yeah, and I understand the Holy Father says in that preface that the Church's social teaching is not outside theology, but instead deeply rooted in God's love for humanity. Can you talk to us more about that, and what do you think he means by that?
Well, I think we could take the example from Jesus. When we read the Gospels, we don't see Jesus speaking about the kingdom and then saying, now I'm going to stop talking about the kingdom and I'm going to tell the Good Samaritan parable, or I'm going to heal the sick, or I'm going to drive out the demons. No, they are part and parcel of his mission and his ministry, and part and parcel of our bringing the gospel, the good news, to the world and indeed to ourselves, is to put it in short terms, the preferential option for the poor. It's a whole, you might say, way of life, way of faith, way of ministry. It's not in pieces, and the social impact is not an afterthought or an optional extra.
And also, could you mind, and do you mind, sharing with us how this idea came about, and also what you hope people take away from reading your book?
The idea was born because of Pope Francis's deep involvement in the teaching of Vatican II, to such an extent that we understand everything he says and does as implementing the Council, but we had the impression that people weren't necessarily interpreting it that way because he didn't make the connections with the Council explicit very much, and he explains that himself in the preface. So we wrote the first part to show the roots of Pope Francis's social teaching, and indeed of his whole ministry, in the fundamental teachings of the Council, the people of God, and the Church's mission to the world. And then the second part is a reading, an interpretation, a presentation of Fratelli Tutti, which sums up and culminates and in a sense brings to a crescendo the teaching, the social teaching of the Holy Father.
Well, Your Eminence, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate speaking with you, Cardinal Czerny, Under Secretary of the Migrants and Refugees Section of the Holy See's Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development. Thank you again.
Thank you, and bye-bye from Rome.